Okay, it's me again. These are tire irons and a bead breaker. When you're changing your own tires, it's tough to get the bead broken on the rim so that you can get a tire iron under there to persuade the tire off. Okay, so you can get yourself one of these bead breakers. You put that around the tire. Tire goes through here. You have these go right up against, almost touching the rim, and as you work, this spreader goes in here. It will break the tire bead. It will break the bead. Okay, these will work up to tires 180 millimeters wide, and they get a little tough after that. You have to let the air out of them to get this bead breaker to persuade that tire off of the rim. It helps if you put some water or some rubber lubricant on the bead so that you can get this off, or get this to get the tire to break. In an emergency, you can put your kickstand down, someone's kickstand, and put it right on the tire, right next to the rim, and pull the bike towards the kickstand, and that can break the bead. I've done that using the kickstand with all the weight of the motorcycle on it. But it's not for everyone. But in an emergency, you got to do what you got to do. Another way to break a bead is to carefully have a car run over the bead in an emergency. I haven't had to do that, but I've heard of that. Then there's different styles of tire irons. These are about 14 inches long. You want to have these in pairs. These are my favorites for getting on the rim, and this gives you some room to pry. Okay, then you get another one in there, and the toughest part of a tire to get off of the rim, or on actually, is the last 90 degrees of the tire. They're tough. If you have a motorcycle with tire pressure sensors in the wheel, you have to keep in mind where those pressure sensors are so you don't damage them when you're in that rim digging around trying to get a grip to get the tire off. There's plastic guards. Let me grab one. You can buy these plastic rim protectors to protect your rim from the violence that's taking place as you're prying against the rim and trying to get the tire up over the bead. You can buy these. They usually come in sets of 4. Then you have this size tire iron that you can carry on your bike, especially if you have tube tires. You're going to have to take that tire off the rim. You can sometimes get the tire off the rim while it's still mounted on the bike, if you have a center stand especially, and you can patch the tube. That way you can't pull the tube out, obviously, when it's on the bike. But I have seen it done where they just break the bead and pull the tube out and patch it, then put it without taking it off the bike. Then this small size that used to come in toolkits back in the 60s and 70s. I have another one in one of my toolkits. You had to carry these when you had tubes in the tires. So those are some things that make life a lot easier when you're putting your own tires on your wheels, which I have always done. I've never had anybody put tires on for me. Okay, since we're talking about tires, let's talk about air pressure gauges. You have electronic ones, digital ones. You have this type of gauge. Then you have your regular pencil type gauges. Okay, you have to have one for low pressure. This one only goes up to 20 pounds. I use this for air forks or for quads or for like my trials bikes that ran radial tubeless tires. You only ran 4 pounds of air in those. So you have to have a low pressure gauge, and here's an ultra low pressure gauge. I think this only goes up to about 6 pounds or 5 pounds. Let's see. 7. Yeah, that goes up to 7 pounds. This would work on my Yamaha Venture because that is the maximum you can run in the forks, and that's what I do run. But my shock can take up to 57 pounds. I run my rear shock at 20 pounds. I never take a passenger, so I would have to use not this 7-pounder. I'd have to use a regular car tire gauge. And one thing I have found to be true is the $40 gauge, the digital gauge, and these 99-cent pencil gauges you can get them for, they all read within a pound of each other. So you can trust these. I mean, they were all right there. I can't believe that. But they were all right there. Okay. Let's talk about if you have an air leak or you have a flat tire. You have to be able to get the air out of the tire. Now you can sit there with a screwdriver or something and push down on this little valve. This is called a Schrader valve core. This is what keeps the air in your tires. Okay. Whenever this fits on, let me show you a different style. This is a valve cap that used to come on motorcycles back in the day. This fits on here, and that's how you either tighten or remove valve cores out of your valve stems. That's down in there. Okay, so you want to let the air out when you're going to put tires on. You take out the valve core, let the air out, and there's an old style, different style. This is what seals the air, this red seal against. There must be a seat in there that goes against, but that's how you let the air out. And an unrelated note, as the air is coming out of this valve in your tire, you will notice, even on a 100-degree day, ice coming out of this around the end. That's the basis of air conditioning. I'm an HVAC guy. You compress something, and when you let it drop, where there's a drop in pressure, right at this point where the pressure is dropping, you will see ice start to form. Anyway, unrelated. Okay, so you have this type of a valve core remover, and you have this type. All right, this one here does many functions. This will redress the threads, I think. Oh, I have a valve core in there. Down inside the valve. I'm not sure what this end does. If somebody knows, let me know. Okay, that part there obviously takes out the core, but this end is for this. When you have to replace the valve, because they will go bad right here where they meet the rim in your car. Not so much, I don't know, I've never seen rubber ones in a motorcycle. I've seen them on quads. But whenever you have to replace the valve because it's brushed up against a curb or something, and it's you know, been damaged, or just ozone attacked it and it's dry rotted, okay, what you do is you get the old one out, you know, you cut it free, get it out of there. Then you have to have the tire broken down on the rim, of course. Then you get the new valve in. All right, well, how do you pull it in? You don't want to put a pair of pliers on there. You put this on. Okay? Then you get something like a pair of diagonals or a pair of pliers or something, and you lean this against the rim and you pop it in just by pivoting it like a seesaw. And that will pop the valve in until it reaches this recess here where it seals against the rim. That's what these tools are for. If you have tubes in your tires, okay, you've got the tire on one side, then you have to get the tube in there, and you'll see that they're usually coated with talcum powder. That's so that they can move around and find their center without wrinkles, because wrinkles put stress points on them. By the way, putting a tube inside of a tubeless tire reduces that tire's load capacity by 10%. I learned that from a Continental Tire engineer when I was a test rider for them. Okay, so whenever you have the tire halfway on the rim and then you go to put the tube in, all right, then you have to kind of get the tube near the hole on the rim, but you have to allow it to float. So you put this through the hole and on the end of the inner tube valve stem, like that. It's down in the rim. All right, then you spoon the tire on, hoping you don't pinch the tube. It helps if you put a little bit of air in the tube to prevent pinching it. But anyway, whenever you have the second bead on the tire and it's time to pull this through the hole, you don't have to hunt around or drop down in there and ruin your day because you have to take it off again. You just pull this up and it will pull the tube through the hole on the rim. That's what these are for. These also have a valve core remover on the end. If you have something with tubes in the tires, you should have one of these. Anyway, hope somebody learned something today, because a lot of this stuff I never knew until somebody told me. I know there's a lot of people out there that already know all this stuff, but there's a lot more people that never saw these things. So I'm just trying to pass on some information I wish somebody had told me years ago. See you there.